This is Clubhouse. It is the Dub House. W7M. This is one of their best maps, one of their most played maps. But FaZe Clan aren't too shabby either.
Not too shabby indeed. What's also not too shabby is that Ace ban coming off, hot off the press, Novi. Nice thing to see. Getting some of that hard breach utility out the way. Again, that's going to really force a reliance now on the Habana and even the Thermite. The Thermite, of course, can be very statically placed, which can be a bit dangerous when we think of some of the vertical angles, especially with basement. Flores being banned too, the utility clear is going to be a little bit more difficult now. Again, flashes are a must if you are seeing the Flores brought out, and it also indicates perhaps FaZe Clan's defense themselves is going to be very utility heavy. An aggressive team surrounded by that much util, ooh, that's going to be a spicy one, Novi.
Yeah, and there's plenty of utility-based operators, like Capital, for instance, bring the smokes, the fire, but also that secondary hard breach as well. So even with the Ace banned, is it much of a hit when there are so many plentiful options available on that attacking side?
Yeah, that Solus ban as well is going to be pretty impactful, to be honest. W7M not choosing to take it on their own operator lineup. Again, I really do think it's a good piece of kit for people to have. But at the same time, you know, we think again of the soft destructibility. You can kind of hold from below if you are going to take that Solus. This is going to make it maybe a bit trickier, more reliance on, you know, things like the Vulcans as time goes on, things like those Toxic Babes, things like C4s. The problem really with Clubhouse is the external walls, right? You've got the gym site, you've got CCTV. It's always very difficult to, you know, defend those main external walls. And that's why people, nowadays, we're seeing more and more of bar, but also most people now are trying to opt on this basement site, which is exactly what we're getting here. So I think this is a good starting point, to be honest, for W7M. Again, they got the Azami, they've got the Warden as well, which I really, really do like, because again, I assume there's going to be flashes aplenty coming through from FaZe Clan.
My main worry with this is, like you said, is there any point in actually defending all these walls and the reinforced walls specifically when there's so much EMPs, hard breach, that shit you can bring? If you are going to do that for that basement site, you've got to be conscious that those hatches are going to go, those walls are going to go. That's a lot of lines of sight straight in on the site. And it's a large, very sprawled out horizontally and a lot of entrance points. So you've got to win your ones. And I want to see, preferably, some rotations off of just the site. We saw yesterday teams turtling sometimes on that basement and not even opting to roam. They've got the Valkyrie, abuse the fact that those black eyes are available, try and get as much information, get that first blood, and then you can retreat back. But remember that the timing is the thing that you really want to run down, not just the kills.
I like that FaZe are also bringing the sense of their final collapses. Again, you know, it's probably one of the least picked operators in the operator pool at the moment. But if you can make it works really well. It can just sometimes be a bit chaotic. One misclick and you do end up with, you know, these random lines everywhere. But I'm really curious to see if they do finally get to execute, how they're going to work with that. Ooh, gorgeous little pixel angle there. Keys is going to get downed. And that's going to be very difficult to try and trade back if, well, there we go. Yes, KDS is indeed prepping a nade. Does actually miss for Novi. There we go. Heads falls.
The Jaeger looking to try and reply, but it's not enough. Cyber. Another one. And that is a start for FaZe Clan, looking very, very comfortable. Moving into the halfway point. They've managed to open up the floor. They've already cleared along that top side. So really it comes down to what can his army do with the Kiva barriers? And also, when does the smoke start throwing those toxic waves?
I think the main thing here is that, you know, there was a slight overextension and FaZe Clan have kind of punished W7M for it. So far, no trade. Well, I was going to say no trades. There we go, JV. Beautiful pick there onto KDS. It's going to pull back to safety. And also mindful of maybe Moto pressure may start to come through thick and fast. Again, a 4 versus 3. Here come the flash grenades. This is where you really need to win your ones. More verticality coming through by Cyber as well. If FaZe Clan, they're aware they've got the time here, Novi. They're aware that they can kind of, you know, take their sweet time, get these holes open, look for some cheeky little kills. And when it comes to this final collapse, there's less people to deal with.
Looking out for where the defenders might be. They've got their drones, some into sight. W7M has been really, really confident in terms of clearing those drones as they drop through the hatch, denying that information. Now the pressure is starting to build. Cyber looking for the third in the round, but it's Handy who goes down. Cyber drops from the hatch, gets removed by the Azami. JV follows up with another one, and it's actually W7M smoking, choking out FaZe Clan right now with 15 seconds on the clock. Souls, the star player, who was highlighted on the desk, gets removed from play. Just like that, W7M take the first round.
Of the first round, I mean, expected, but again, the fact that FaZe Clan had all of that control from the get-go, they got those first, the initial down, then they followed it up with a cheeky little vert shot, and it looked so good for them. They had everything they need. It's just these final moments where you're dropping down and you don't have that information as where this blue position is, where the defender is holding. So things become a little bit more chaotic. You really have to have that util to enable you to go for something like that. Not sure if that was a flustered moment coming through from FaZe then. We see the OSA being brought out as a way to try and retaliate, or could just be because they've already assumed, okay, yeah, they've already guessed it's CCTV cache, right? So they're taking that OSA, presumably to sell it up, you would expect around the breach wall going into CCTV. Again, as I touched on before, Novi, these walls are so easy to open nowadays if people do bring things like EMPs. Thatcher being on the table, of course, looks like Handy is going to pick back onto that. The fuse coming through? That's a little bit naughty.
Okay, I dig it. It's something different. I rate it. And Cyber, who am I to doubt Cyber, right? He's already kicked us off with a fantastic opening. I'm going to trust that there is method to the madness with the fuse. Those cluster charges can be devastating. Maybe it's also possible. It could be a case of trying to remove the magnets just in one big go. Just position it in a place that's going to clear all that utility. And then suddenly, those plethora of flashes that you have available can do way more damage in terms to the defending side.
Certainly so. That's the main thing too. It looks like FaZe are trying to go a bit more direct here. I think they are a little bit concerned about the potential of some spawn peaks. I was wondering if they were going to try and have an additional angle towards construction. I imagine Souls is going to open up Con's wall. A little bit of a ruckus happening now in construction itself. His KDS is trying to cause a little bit of a distraction here so that wall can get opened. That's going to start to put pressure on Feelerpox as well, Novi.
And already, Garage opening two spots. One for the window hold, and the other to slip in underneath the catwalk. And they're trying to get that main wall open as well. They managed to do it so far. Not too sure. Cyber is rotating around on the fuse. I want to see where are these cluster charges going to be used. He hasn't used any so far. I mean, it's a pretty decent weapon. You've got the breaching charges as well, but there's got to be more to this, unless he just wants to play it and, Ace isn't available. Hertz is going to get droned out, though, and he's going to have to back off.
It could be that they're taking the fuse so they can get it on that cons wall going into cache. Cyber, beautiful shot there. So at least they're maintaining alive. Let's see if they can utilize these cluster charges in the way that I expect them maybe they will be. Again, if they do want to go for a cons take, certainly clearing the way with those cluster charges into cache can certainly create a lot of breathing room.
Yeah. Losing Hertz, that is a huge bummer for W7M, but Feelerpox brilliantly replies onto the Iana, so the replicator no longer available, and we saw FaZe Clan struggled a little bit in terms of information read, and he's now going to push through, and that's going to help with the construction control. I expect the fuse is going to walk through. First cluster charge is placed. A flurry of grenades, but it's actually KZ who takes the first onto Handy. The engagement pushing him further ahead, and a double kill to boot. With the King pushing his way up red stairs, but Nade's having none of it. W7M, when it really comes to crunch time, they are destroying FaZe Clan. There is no word in edgeways. W7M move up to a 2-0 lead in this series. Well, in this game, not the series, not yet.
That's two rounds where some interesting util has been brought by FaZe Clan, and they're not quite able to get it to the places I think they want it to be. Of course, we had the sends, that's really safe for that final collapse, and unfortunately it kind of fell apart a little bit in the last moments. And then, of course, the fuse charges not being used to their full potential there, I feel. Really unfortunate, because I think there's a lot of reliance here where they definitely have an idea of the precise execute they want to go for. There's no chaos there at all. It's just going through the steps that they're struggling because these gunfights are happening and they're getting caught slightly off guard.
FaZe Clan, is this something that... Have we seen this for FaZe before. They've looked so good the last series they played in terms of their attack. They have been brutal. Like you said, really punchy, snappy, aggressive. And that cohesion in those last 30, 40 seconds, it seems quite lost, and there's a bit of indecisiveness within the team. And W7M more than comfortable in terms of their fragging 1v1s to take those engagements. This isn't one player standing out on the team. This is across the board W7M performing right now in those 1v1 engagements.
Bringing out the Nomad now to try and just cover their 6 a little bit, make sure that maybe there's no aggression coming through either. And they were quite concerned from the get-go about the potential runouts or little window peaks, so I do respect that. I respect it. Again, it gives you an additional load of flashes as well. I think flashes really are going to be the useful thing here, especially given, you know, W7M, they don't have ADSs, they don't have magnets in play, so maybe that's going to enable the collapse and a bit more aggression when they're trying to clear some of the space. Speaking of clearing space, at the moment, Box desperately trying to keep that wall nice and firm. The core has been EMP'd though, so that's going to be fully blown open.
Yep, and that will allow FaZe to get garage control, then into CCTV, and then maybe cash. But you can already see W7M, they knew that that wall was going to go down. They've now backed off into cash. They've got red stairs as well. And it means, despite FaZe getting a victory in denying the electrical, denial onto the wall, it doesn't really matter. There is now a second objective that they have to walk through. And I had questions with the mirror ban. How was W7M going to approach this site specifically? And it seems like they've got an answer to that. Maybe FaZe should just rotate their attention to the other side of the map.
Again, half the round gone, so they're making good leeway. They've pushed back W7M more towards those sites. Again, I think they're still slightly concerned about pressure up red in the last moment. It's a tale as old as time, really. Suddenly, out of nowhere, someone will flank up, and you end up being contested from red, despite thinking it was potentially clear. So, bit of a time waste here. Are they aware of the lurking in the shadows? As flashes have pushed back, they have air jabbed. But the patience that we might see from JV could be massive, to be honest, Novi.
Yeah, with a minute remaining in the round, he can just play patiently. They're only just into construction now, so not really even knocking on the doors of the site yet. And there is the Roma JV, patience of a saint. Cyber removed from play. Red King at least replies onto Herds, so it's a trade 1-for-1. But W7M is going to be quite happy. Very happy with that one to boot. Andy going down, followed by Souls. Again, trading back and forth. Both teams going blow for blow, but it doesn't matter if FaZe can't get on the site and either eliminate W7M or get the diffuser down, Grace.
Certainly so. There we have it. You have lost your utility for that execute, but you can just get that gunfire under your belt. Secure those kills. That's the way you clean up. Realistically, maybe a bit of over-aggression from W7M, then maybe they should have just pulled back and let them funnel through that cons doorway. But at least that's them securing a round on the board. Again, yes, patience really being the key defining factor of that round. Despite the antics of JV, I may add.
I mean, W7M are just swinging doors there, right? Like you said, the time was running low. I felt like they were thinking maybe FaZe Clan was getting nervous because of the lack of time. They were going to have to pressure. W7M goes, okay, I'm going to swing this because, well, they're under pressure. They're going to make silly mistakes here. FaZe Clan aren't slouches. These guys are so clean in terms of their mechanical skill, and they will take those gunfights happily. Maybe that was, like you said, an overextension, gets punished for it. But W7M back to that bottom floor. They looked very, very good on the launch into the basement, despite losing 2 players very early on to Cyber on that roam, who's no longer on the buck.
This is going to be another maybe fruity moment where we do see a bit of nasty gunfights happening around the bar area, but for now, again, patience is a virtue, and FaZe Clan certainly looking virtuous, making their way slowly but surely through all of this utility setup that W7M have brought to the table. I think Ideally, I'd like to see them get more control over Kitchen this time, but I don't know if they're really going to go for it. We do see Vizkin lurking in the distance, but potentially, yeah, some of those X-Karos have been used already. Not sure if that was for barricades or the hatch, maybe just to get a little bit of a bait from any impacts that may be lurking underneath.
Here we go. Baseline. In the building, herds waiting around the corner. Got blue hatch, and of course, the EDDs. So at least getting the read on when they get shot out. Chooses just to yeet out of there, not going to risk it. There's still a teammate way up above on that top floor who can come down for that late round flank. It's Nade. But the rest of FaZe Clan getting caught out in the open. A quick 1-2. W7M ripping them apart, but FaZe Clan are bouncing back. Cyber looking to push around the generator into blue, but it's a complete and utter bait. Beautiful crossfire set up with Nade as he drops down into oil. And now Vizkin sticking the plant. All that attention on the other side of the site has allowed them to get open in. Handy gets another kill, Grayson. It's a 2-on-2. Vizkin stuck on site, but he has to defend right now.
And that's going to be very uncomfortable. Again, Handy needs to try and make something work here. There we have it. The final kill falling into his hands, just waiting patiently. Again, patience being the key factor here for FaZe Clan.
Patience is rewarded. W7M, this is a wake-up call. Yes, you were very good at getting those opening kills, but FaZe Clan, they had a counter plan to even losing that. They knew where they were going to draw the defenders approach. You can see right here, it looks like FaZe Clan's plan was falling apart, but they know that they're drawing them towards one side of the map, towards blue, and that allows that entrance into B site. Get the plant down, things turn around, and you can make the play from there. Very, very nicely done by FaZe Clan, and a just huge 10,000 IQ call on that plant.
I wonder if that Kappa Tower is going to be stuck as well. You see the Ella being brought to the table. It's been quite an interesting one. I wonder where these will be positioned. Maybe in that double, maybe a bit towards blue as well. Let's see. It would be really nice to see Nade get a little bit more aggro, I think, if they are playing around this Ella utility especially. They are choosing to save the capital. Okay, I like that, you know. I like that. Again, the firebolt's so impactful for pushing people out, especially with that basement site. You know, you've got a lot of really awkward angles. There's so much cover, especially for people to hide behind. You have those boxes. It's very difficult. Lots of ring around the rosy antics happen on this basement site. When it comes to that final collapse and these little gunfights that can happen there. Even so, again, smokes for the cover as well. It's always a good one to see.
And interestingly, not taking secondary hard breach gadget. Of course, there is double hard breach anyway, Hibana Thermite, but opting for the Claymores, and FaZe Clan has been prioritizing the Nomad for the air jabs. This gives them an extra set of Claymores they can use to just deny it. Yes, they're not as hidden, but certainly quieter, and a lot more explosive.
I feel like there's a little bit of a safety net W7M are bringing here, where they do want to battle down on site. They don't want to get caught off by any of these trades, but I'm not sure if that is the right call. I'd like to maybe, as soon as they know where this push is coming from, if they have the opportunity to maybe go for something a bit sneaky, get a flank off, go for it. But I don't know if FaZe Clan are going to give them the breathing room. Look at this, so much control and already so much setup, opening as many options as they possibly can, Novi. And again, they still have so much utility. Pretty much all the utility is still there in pocket, apart from one Claymore on Soul. So at this point, they're kind of laughing, surely. They're like, okay, we have everything we need to go for this execute. We're not being pressured at all. But will they be able to commit to it? That's the question on my lips.
W7M know that the drone has gone through generator. They know that FaZe Clan previously tried to push down there, and FaZe Clan has brought something different to the table. They've got the full map control, bar that basement site. The Souls looking through Moto. You've got multiple hatches in control. Presume the Moto drop is going to come through. Flashes go up first to clear the magnets, keep a barrier in response, but Handy has slipped through into the corridor. With that exothermic charge will open up an angle in 45 seconds, plenty of times. Here's the smokes, followed by the flames as well. No one can see anything around Generator, and the chaos is causing FaZe Clan to flourish. But W7M respond with lethal precision, getting 2 on themselves. 30 seconds remain. KZ might have taken or is holding the site, but FaZe Clan in the lull before the storm really need to start actioning themselves, pushing down towards the site. 20 seconds remain. Still no closer, just on the precipice. And FaZe Clan happy to have to try and push forward and take those gunfights. There's trades everywhere, but W7M in the hands of JV safely brings it home to get another round win.
Another one under the belt, but round number 6, this is their last offensive round before they go on that maybe less favourable attack again. I think certainly out of the two teams with all maps, to be honest, you know, as the guys touched on earlier, FaZe have a very strong attacking half. At the same time, though, W7M, especially on this map, they have a pretty strong win rate themselves. It's about 67% Novi, which isn't bad going at all. Granted, they haven't really shown their hand too much with it, but I'm curious to see how they will approach it. FaZe Clan have been very adaptable, right? They're constantly taking different things. They're constantly mixing it up, bringing different utility to deal with what W7M are doing. I think mostly it's just going to come down to the reliance on their patience, really. Can W7M bring that same level of patience, or will they get, again, just a bit too hyper-aggressive at times?
Measured aggression is the key to any great tiered team. Knowing when to push aggressive and knowing when to back off and just leave it. Let the clock run down. Don't need to trade help response. The Monty making his first appearance in this series, though. Beats King, opting for the French operator. And where is the Mountain going to approach? I mean, they opened this up really, really well last time. They got that construction control. It came down to KZ just rinsing them on that Azami, taking those gunfights and getting that double kill. And from there, FaZe Clan just struggled.
This is it again. It's the fact that, you know, you're bringing the Monty. It's a CC take. You want to be pushing that up rafters as quick as possible. As soon as you start applying that pressure for play on rafters, someone can come behind with that swing and deal with them. You've then essentially got garage control as long as you're covering lounge. That's why we're already seeing FaZe kind of lurking around lounge. And speaking of lurking, Novi, look at this. Hurts all the way in basement. Potentially can cause a little bit of carnage as the round goes on, especially again. FaZe's main point here is that they need to maintain this garage control. JV isn't having any of it. The nades going out. Very aware of the fact they're going to be taken down for the bait. They do indeed fall for it. KDS, there we have it. Collecting it, and that's garage control firmly in the hands of W7M. Now, this pressure can now come through from the breach.
W7M committed a lot of resources to defending that garage position. Without it, they're just bleeding right now. Another tallied off for FaZe Clan. They're looking for 3 more to close out the round, and we're only halfway through. Cyber can hear their steps just around the corner. Impact from below takes the aggression towards Herds and wins it out. And that's a 5-2. This is the most dominant FaZe Clan has looked so far in this game. And they're just getting better and better. Another one into the tally. KDS closes it out. It's not quite flawless, but FaZe Clan will be pretty damn happy with that one.
I mean, again, it wasn't anything too razzle-dazzle-y, was it? It was a very standard, you know, Monty take for CCTV. You get the wall open, you push the Monty up rafters. And again, we saw the struggle there on the rafters from W7M. We saw, okay, I'm going to send some nades out. We saw, okay, I'm getting flashed. I'm just going to have to try and go for the melee. Unfortunately, getting caught out there. But as soon as that control was gone, and again, they did have the presence in lounge, but at this point, because they'd already had the breach open, they sent Cyber Zero downstairs, and he could just hold that angle, eventually getting aggressive and landing that kill. And the pinch came through to deal with the mute. Again, maybe that C4 was taken a little bit too premature, in my opinion. Maybe hiding a bit and then waiting for that plant to start to come down. You've got to try and do something in that situation, right?
You've got to make a decision. You know, even when your back is against the wall, and when you start losing that man count, those decisions, you can still pick all the right paths. but it might not lead to a round win result because you've lost so much earlier on. It's all you can really do. Now, W7M have to kind of reset. 3-3 is not the scoreline they would have liked, but it is what it is. They're opting for that fuse. No breaching charges. Actually, the hard breaching charges instead. So the can opener is in the hands of Hertz alongside the cluster charge. And we saw, I think, one go off when the fuse was picked previously. How is Hertz going to handle this?
I like the fact that they're bringing the fuse when they do have that basement site as well. Again, it's going to create a lot of clearance. It's going to prevent the impact trick on the hatches. Even the possibility, again, of it applying pressure to blue, applying pressure to moto if they need it. Probably not moto, realistically, but again, certainly that blue. Cyber on a very extended roam. I'm not sure if W7M have actually clocked onto this, and that could be a little bit chaotic as the time goes on, because again, if Cyber's undetected, huge drama can occur. There we have it. The fuse yeeted and deleted from the server. The trade comes through by KZ, though. So that's at least a trade, though, Novi.
W7M will be happy with that. Hertz is having a rough game, to say the least, but the team is traded. So Hertz has done his job. He can get on cams, start watching things for the rest of the side, and helping in terms of the call-outs for the rest of the team. FaZe Clan, though, losing Cyber is being a great point of contact for FaZe Clan and taking those engagements. Maybe that's the entry frag that W7M needed just to get things rolling, get their confidence back into this game and try and win this first round. They've opened up a lot of the floor, Grace, with a minute remaining. There's still plenty of time. We saw FaZe Clan in the same situation and still struggle in terms of the exit.
Certainly so. Loads of time to work with, really. Again, 55 seconds or so. This is where you can go for a pretty nice setup, as long as you absolutely land this util now for this collapse. They have all these choices to go for, Novi. Again, realistically, they're laughing. Yes, granted, that fuse is gone. Maybe that was a big part of them applying this pressure to these drops, but they still have flashes. So many flashes. Here we go. Flashes being yeeted into church. He'd accidentally getting himself full white, though. Almost ideal. Look at all these Kiba barriers, Novi.
I know, and the aggression coming through from FaZe Clan. Vita King taking JV out. And that is a big kill from the smoke player. No more toxic babes now, but there's only 10 seconds. And it just has to hold on with a 2-on-2. Nate's forced to stick the defuse. Bleepox is really all on the buck, but where is he? He's nowhere close. Ooh. Only now slips in, trades 1-for-1, but it's not enough. FaZe Clan take the round, winning their first on defense. And W7M fall by the wayside. FaZe Clan take the lead of this game.
They certainly do. Again, the curse is whispering in the night. Poor W7M, but FaZe Clan are just doing a really good job of landing their shots and applying that pressure. The momentum as well. It's something that W7M, you know, especially with that basement hold, something they should have done. I understand the safety aspect of battering down the hatches and being like, we're going to go for something a little bit, you know, smoother here. Maybe we don't want to go for, especially a solo roam, you know, the Valve lurking around the top of red. It is a risky roam to have because granted, yes, you can catch them off guard. They weren't drone off. They were allowed to get a freebie, but that trade came through instantaneously. And at that point, who is trading you? No one, because you're on a solo roam. That's the, well, not so much confusing, but the unfortunate factor of a solo roam. I like the fact that FaZe did it because it rustles the jimmies and it means, okay, we actually have to drone out a bit more now, check all these drones, check all our flanks again, because we don't know who else may be lurking that we've missed, because clearly we've missed one.
And like you said, if they go for this solo roam, now W7 is thinking, well, what if they switch up? Like I said, what if they do 2 people roaming, 3? We've seen a lot of variation on Clubhouse. There's a lot of flexibility in how to hold it on defense. And now W7M, they're going to be questioning because they did such a good job in terms of that setup before the execute. They threw all this utility. They even managed to win a lot of the gunfights as well. It just didn't materialize in the end of the day. The coordination wasn't there. Buck wasn't quite in the right position. And FaZe Clan had that time pressure in their pocket. Now, what is W7M's approach here? FaZe not opting for CCTV instead with the gym bedroom. And we saw W7M, well, FaZe approach through CCTV, through cache. W7M, are they going to do the same? Or are they going to opt for a more direct jacuzzi take and push on through? There's no mirror available, Grace, so that is a kind of a blessing for W7M here.
I think they are aware that someone's lurking around the main stairs. They're just not entirely sure exactly where. So maybe for now they are just going to stick with the traditional approach. They're going to try and get that CCTV control. They're going to push onto cache. What does KDS have to say about that? I think they are aware that the fire may be coming in. Nade's going to go out, get rid of a lot of this utility. Not sure if it's got rid of the shield. At least that's going to start to apply pressure. I mean, this could be pretty massive. A little bit of a help from Cyber again. KDS, oh, actually gets taken out by KZ. But a C4 from Cyber. Lovely stuff.
A gigantic kill, really, onto Nade. That thermite no longer in play. A utility gain from using that C4. Fantastic for FaZe. But it is still even. Minute on the clock. Position of the site allows those windows to be used. So FaZe, yes, there's less people on the board, but still means that they need to be conscious of where the W7M players are. They're still watching around those windows, waiting for FaZe, even in this late into the round, to go aggressive and potentially get a peek through that window. Cyber, not quite the reaction speeds possible to get that kill.
It's the Toxic Babe being chucked out just to delay that collapse from construction. I assume the 6 is being watched in logistics, but those Candelas are coming through. Thankfully, there's a Warden, so they can deal with it a little bit. Hertz falls down. The EMP's clear some utility. Vice getting beautiful pick there onto Philippox. Oh, and JV falls too. FaZe a really swift cleanup there. Despite all of the utility that was thrown at them, they had everything they needed to get away scot-free.
And this is a great showing by FaZe, looking very comfortable, confident in their defense and just running the clock down. And Grace, I was hoping for a bit more of a back and forth on Clubhouse. Is this the point where FaZe just takes this away? If they win their tertiary site, they're on match point on W7M's map pick.
I mean, that's the awkwardness of having a 3-3 split on your own defense, especially, granted, FaZe's attacks are decent. So to maybe give yourself some leeway, you can be like, okay, it's fine. They have really clean-cut attacks and we just got caught off guard a few times. The problem is that, W7M, they're just getting caught off guard one too many times here. With the utility they're bringing, it needs to be very timed. It needs to be very precise. They need to make sure that there's no counter to it, first of all. Maybe a bit more information on the table is what they need here. And in some instances, just simply running out of time. But I think that kind of shouts more to the fact that FaZe Clan had this really nice extension and they keep going for these very fruity plays where they are willing to overextend, they are willing to get aggressive just to burn out that timer even more, Novi.
Running out of time. The time is the 6th defender. I said the line. I did it. I went there. But it's true. This game, more than most, Clubhouse, I feel, is one of those maps that emphasizes that aspect more than most, because how many checkboxes you have to check in terms of your attack, right? And there's so many different ways to approach it, but likewise for defenders like FaZe and W7M, they were doing. It's very easy to do extended site setups, which means it adds more things for the attackers to do. It wastes even more time, and that 6th defender absolutely loves that type of plays. Precisely.
We're going to see if W7M will have as much of a field day as FaZe did with the classic Monty push. I mean, this time there's a lot of protection. They also have the frost mats here as well. Not that that's going to help you too much on the rafters. There is one position behind a shield, though. So again, if they don't manage to remove KDS, if Philippox can't apply that pressure and accidentally goes for a vault through the shield, that could be a pretty amusing kill indeed.
And the Maverick going to open that wall up. And that'll offer line of sight for W7M into CCTV. But FaZe so far the wall hasn't gone, so that gives them a bit more freedom. Azami looking for the run out. I think there was the sound cue going over to the Zofia outside, so won't want to take that engagement, but this feels a lot of time wasted. Last time we saw FaZe Clan on this site attacking, they blitzed through in the first minute and a half using that Monty, and where's this for W7M? A lot, considerably slower in their approach.
Slow and steady often wins the race, Novi.
True.
This is where you can kind of, make sure you're crossing your T's, make sure you're dotting your I's. The fact that they've actually taken the Monty for that construction push, essentially, is quite interesting too. Again, maybe they've realized, okay, the util setup here is absolutely just now. We're not going to bother with it. We're going to go construction. Cyborg takes it out, JV. But again, this pressure is going to start coming in thick and fast. They've got the wall open now. Essentially, if they can apply a bit more pressure, if they can get a few more kills under their belt and use some of this util, they could attempt to cheese the plan. We've seen this extra dimension come through from Kize now. Beta King, are they going to go for the run out Novi?
Yes.
Will they actually risk it? Will they risk it for a chocolate biscuit? Looks like he's just going to hold the angle for now. Oh, and no, he's not going to do it. They're not going to be silly this time. That's a beautiful kill, though. Patience does pay off. Herds not aware of the fact that they're behind them. Nade taken outside. But Zero, though, a 2 versus 3. Already looking a lot better now for FaZe Clan, despite all the pressure that's been held to them. And there we have it. KDS at the end. A swift little 2K to clean things up. No pog mats needed.
No, not at all. FaZe Clan moving on to map point against the opposite number of W7M. On their map pick, W7M chose to come to Clubhouse. We believe it's because it's a comfort pick. Maybe they're hiding strategies for later on, but what strategies are left when you're out of the competition? FaZe Clan looking to punch their ticket to Copenhagen and move on through, because we know Cafe, they are blindingly good on that map.
Yeah, to be honest, not often I'll admit I'm wrong, but FaZe Clan right now are just playing like the better team. They have everything absolutely on form. They're being really smart as well with the way that they want to take a lot of these approaches. And as soon as they realize what W7 are doing, they're adjusting themselves accordingly. They're not leaving any room for error, though. They're making sure that their adjustments, the way that they're rotating themselves and repositioning themselves, it's still tight to cover all angles. They're not making any mistakes. It is crisp. It is clean. It is cool as a cucumber.
And FaZe is sitting pretty right now. There is plenty of map points remaining for them to run through. So even if W7M does start to get jig in their step and want to start rolling through, getting a couple of rounds, the momentum flowing through them, FaZe Clan, they just need just one more round. And this is where W7M, they don't have that tactical timeout grace to lean on at this point. They've already used it.
Oh.
Ooh.
That's not ideal, the Maverick going so early.
Oh dear.
Yeah, again, oh dear. Heavy reliance now on Nade and Herds. Of course, Herds does have those secondary hard breaches in pocket. Thankfully, to be honest again, FaZe haven't got the Kaid on the go. Nothing like that. So maybe it will be okay. Maybe, again, though... Well, certainly now, W7M will know what the setup is relatively looking like on site. So they just need to sell up and not get caught off guard this time. Again, time is the 6th defender. They just need to make sure they have enough time for this. That's been the main factor last time.
Time has certainly been the enemy for W7M throughout this game so far. They struggle to manage it appropriately and knowing when to pull the trigger. But now they're going through said checklist, clearing through FaZe Clan. I mean, we wanted Beta King to take that run out or jump out before. At least Cyber has done it, so we've got it somewhere. Thank you, FaZe Clan. But for now, they're sitting very comfortably. They're in control of this game right now. Half the round is gone. Yes, W7M is going through their priority list, but FaZe Clan, they can be patient right now. They don't have to be aggressive, but that is a fantastic opener to put W7M back in this round.
Certainly so. Nice little bit of breathing space. The W7M not using too much util from that. There we have it. Cyber Zero falls too, but Handy can trade that back on the feeler pots. Nade taken out by its King of Response. Souls, beautiful trade coming through. KZ falling down. A 2 versus 2 with loads of time to work with the spray and pray through the wall. Handy takes out Herds, and poor Nade is left in a 1 versus 2.
1 versus 2. And it's all to play for W7M. They do not want to fall behind on Clubhouse, on their map pick. Nade opting to stick the plant. Is there a drone looking out for him? Yes, he's managed to get it off. Now the timer reverses. They now become the 6th attacker, but it doesn't even matter. Souls eliminates W7M from Clubhouse, and that will be the game. FaZe Clan takes out W7M 7-3.
Goodness me, clean as anything. FaZe Clan, of course, it's almost an irony how much we spoke about how strong their attacks are. Starting on that attacking side did not phase them one bit, excuse the pun. It was incredible from the get-go. Again, they were really versatile with the kind of utility they were going to bring, and that's a beautiful thing about FaZe's attacks, right? They're so versatile with it. They will constantly mix it up. They'll bring the utility every